In DC, we're just hoping that you listen.
Welcome, everyone, to District Divided, a DC sports podcast, Washington Commanders edition. I am Amit. That is KDot. Today, we are talking about Team President Jason Wright. That's what this episode is about, the roles and responsibilities of a team president, a little bit about Jason Wright himself, and then our thoughts on how he's doing so far. Okay, so let me go ahead and just kick you off with a very brief background on Jason Wright, former NFL player, I believe first Black team president across the NFL, hired August 2020 when we had quite the shitstorm going on in Ashburn. But he's been here for a couple of years now, and he is going to be in charge of the business side of things, right? So you're going to have the general manager who's in charge of, player personnel and stuff like that. But the team president's job is all business. It's going to be ticket sales, ticket prices, how the stadium's doing, fan engagement, things like that. That's what he's in charge of. So KDot, I want you to jump in now and talk to me about how you feel Jason Wright has done so far as our team president of the Washington Commanders.
Not good. So,
sure.
But I say that knowing it's almost an untenable task, right? To be the team president of this particular organization with the guy that we know sits there up at the top. It's a really, really hard thing to do. But then when you look at it, though, in the grand scheme of things, you look at the guys who have been team president for Washington over the years, it seems like a really low bar. So there's this, I don't know, man. Like the thing is, like, so we say that Jason Wright's responsible for the business side of things and making a lot of these decisions. But then you look at all the things that have happened over the course of the last year or two. The Sean Taylor debacle.
Yep.
Where what they were going to just rename the road Sean Taylor Way, it turns into a jersey retirement. Then we have fans don't know anything until the day of or day before, and then we have the Sean Taylor's family taking pictures in front of porta potties. Now he comes out right and he says that they screwed it up. All right, you get some credit. We have an organization that doesn't really like to admit when they're wrong. So, all right, makes us not hate you that much, but still inexcusable. Then you have the Commander's name rollout also, right? So the Commander's name rollout. Look, I still think that any name that was ever marked was going to get backlash from a significant portion of the fan base. So I don't really care about that. But you look at the way the rollout itself went, right? Like he does the interview saying there's going to be so much misdirection. There's zero misdirection. The name gets leaked based on a video that they put out where you could see the reflection in the goddamn window. Then you look at then you have news choppers being able to see everything that was happening. Where's the misdirection with that? You say that the fans' input were there. I don't remember a lot of fans clamoring for Commanders. Even you have video. There is video evidence that exists of Chase Young being asked about the name Commanders before it was officially announced, and he says he hates it. What the fuck? How, if you're the guy that's in charge of that business aspect of stuff, that shouldn't exist. It shouldn't exist. Like, you need to have a bigger handle on things, right? But once again, we take it all with a grain of salt because it's the dysfunction of this particular franchise. So I think the jury's still out. I think all of us are trying to root for Jason because we try to root for anybody in that respect. But I think what I look back to, and it's a name that I bring up on this podcast every once in a while, because it's a name that I don't think Washington Commander fans say enough, and it disappoints me to no end, which is a guy who did step into that team president, chief officer role a few years back, which was Brian LaFemina, who's the last guy that I can actually say I thought was doing a damn good job at the role, right? So he comes in after they relieve Bruce Allen of his duties. He admits that the season ticket waiting list was a lie. He admits that the game day experience is not as good as we need it to be. He admits that the product on the field is not enough to entice people to come back. He makes sure that the season ticket prices are lower if you buy them, and he offers single game tickets to try to get stuff back. He was extremely honest. Then you look at the day before Christmas, 2018?
Yeah, I'm looking at it right now. He
gets fired. And 40 people out of the organization leave. And this is right before the shit show that then happens with Beth Wilkinson and everybody that was left, Alex Santos, the rest of those, Richard Mann, all of them, then get wrapped up in all the scandal there. And that's when Dan Snyder put Bruce Allen back in charge. And we all know why that went down. LaFemina LaFemina knew that there were no easy outs. We had to do things the right way, and it was going to take a while. That's how you change the culture of an organization that's fucked up. LaFemina worked in the league office for years. Snyder was begging him to come. He comes in, he does it. We are moving what looks like behind the scenes, moving in the right direction. You hear employees talk about, Ashburn felt different. Ashburn felt like we were moving in the right direction. As soon as LaFemina gets canned, 40 other executives leave the organization. And everybody that's left are people that get wrapped up inside the bullshit. There's also a very good theory that LaFemina is the one that actually goes back to the league office and starts blowing the whistle that starts the entire investigation with Beth Wilkinson and everything else. I do think that there's some weight there. But you look at what LaFemina did, and to bring it back to Jason Wright.
Right.
You look at what LaFemina did, which is that he stood up outside of what we know, which is the Dan Snyder shenanigans. He got ousted. And I think right now what we're on this page of is trying to figure out, is Jason Wright his own man, or is he the guy trying to cover up for Snyder? And it's hard to tell. It's right now, it's hard to tell. We all know that if you get this job, usually you're going to have some sort of stank on you when you leave. I feel bad for anybody that takes it. It's almost unwinnable in that way. But when you see the different bullshit that's kind of come out, when you know Dan Snyder is a part of the rollout for the Commander's name, once again, your team president, Jason, if Dan's not supposed to be having anything to do with the daily operation of the team, he shouldn't be there for a name rollout. Like, there are certain things optically that you look at this franchise and you're like, Jason might be the face of the franchise just so that Dan can continue to do the bullshit behind the scenes. And I think that's the only thing gives me major cause for concern when it comes to Jason.
Yeah, and I think that's very well said. So this is his first time doing anything like this, just to be clear. So talking more about Jason Wright, he was former NFL player, accomplished NFL player, had 5 touchdowns total, and had served with any number of teams. Okay. And so then he ends up going to the Chicago Business School, very well known boot school, works at McKinsey. The guy's accomplished overall. Like, the guy is accomplished. He knows, in my opinion, he knows what he's doing. And the thing I will applaud with Jason Wright is the way he attacks things on social media. I think he's very open. I think he's very honest. And I think he tries to engage with fans. I love that about him.
At least in the offseason.
At least in the offseason. And even at times, like when the Sean Taylor thing happened, he said, we botched it. And I am so sorry about that. He owned that up. And we as fans appreciated that. Right. Because it didn't go well. Now, there are also some not so good things, right? And you can begin to see that things might be changing for him. So the Commanders rollout, like you said, name rollout, like you said, that did not go well. Straight up did not go well because there were leaks immediately. He had talked about misdirection. There was, of course, no misdirection. I think anyone that follows the team long enough knows there was never going to be misdirection. And now that Team Crest thing happened, right? They finally fixed it. But he doubled down. He doubled down and said, hey, these are the correct years. And everyone was like, no, they're not. And then he said, well, it could take 2 years or 5 years or whatever it was to fix it. They fixed it in a month. They literally fixed it in a month because of the amount of backlash, meaning if they really wanted to fix it, they could have done it sooner, in my opinion. So that's sort of, I'm worried we're seeing a transition, right, with Jason Wright. And then this isn't really his fault, but we talk about stadium maintenance. We had some not so good PR when it came to our stadium. Jalen Hurts could have gotten hurt after a game. You had poop water multiple times, I think, falling on fans and things of that such. It's a big job. It is a big job. That's why the jury is still out. That's why if this were any other franchise and we're talking about the stuff that has happened, he'd be gone already. But but that's speaking to Dan Snyder. Once again, you had mentioned Brian LaFemina and then Dan begging somebody to come in. Marty Schottenheimer, ring a bell. We talked about it last week. It's the same thing. Dan will, as owner, try and bring in the right people. People will talk about change. Mike Shanahan came in. People talk about change. Hey, things are working here. And then he gets in his own way, right? In the form of Vinny Serrato, in the form of Bruce Allen. You name it, he's done it. Larry Michael. Oh my God, the voice of then Redskins radio, who had to leave just before the Washington Post article came out, right? On the good bits, which is now a very hot topic. So that's why I'm still giving Jason Wright the benefit of the doubt and a bit of a pass here, because we know, KDot, how difficult this job is, right? Yeah. So now we've established some of the good, some of the bad. What do you want to see moving forward from him? What would make you go, right now, your answer was not good. What would turn this around into a, hey, he's actually doing a decent job now?
I don't know. Like, that's the thing is like,
that's sort of what I wanted to get at.
That's the thing is like right now, I agree. The jury is still out. If you ask me what he's done up to this point, I'd say not good. Because if I'm looking at the things that I think are positive about the team, I'm looking more or less just at Ron Rivera. If I'm like in what he's done and brought to the organization, right? Because when he was first up, he was de facto GM. We'll get into Martin Mayhew next week or another week. But when I look at the name change, that wasn't Jason Wright's idea, right? So like there was pressure there, and then we did it. He's not to be blamed about what's happening with the what happened with the investigation of things that happened beforehand. I get that, not his responsibility. But the things that have been his responsibility, there have just been so many little hiccups. The Sean Taylor thing, the rollout, the crest, the stadium. I do remember him having a quote. They talked about the low attendance, I think, mid-season, and he acknowledged that it wasn't good, but then also had to put the caveat that it hasn't been good for a while. And then so just take responsibility for what it is you're doing. Then there's I remember after the season, he was saying that fans had a great experience.
Best in years. So he immediately turned. That's the transition I'm talking about. Right. Where all of a sudden we're like, what are you doing?
What the fuck are you talking about? Like, I went to watch. That stadium was shit. Going up to the top deck, eating them goddamn microwave burnt hot dogs that feel like they were left over from 2 weeks ago. That stadium experience was not a fucking good one. It's not. I don't care. It's not a good one. Now, I don't blame the organization I don't blame everybody in the organization for the location. I don't blame everybody in the location for the stadium. It's not like they're locked in a deal. But that to me, all right, if you're asking, I need to see what happens with the stadium deal. That to me is going to be one of the biggest marks as far as what's going on with this organization.
Yes, and that's going to fall on him. And that's a really good point. Yep.
Right. So like what happens with this stadium? If there is some fucking bullshit stadium in Prince William County that nobody can fucking get to because there's no metro access and shit like that.
Dumfries, Virginia. Yeah.
Like, dude, and I got a lot of experience with Dumfries. I was living down there for a while, but
but it's far, right? I mean, that's the point.
It's far. Yeah. Like I also get Virginia fans saying, man, fuck you guys. We had to go up to Landover for all these years. Like I get that, but I just want to make sure that it's more accessible than it is right now. Not a tit for tat between Virginia and Maryland, who neither of you fucking own the team. It's a Washington goddamn team anyway. So that to me is going to be the absolute biggest mark as far as whether or not there's success or not. The only other thing I could say is that right now I want to give Jason the benefit of doubt. I always do. Like I like him as a guy, especially he was so honest up front. And as you said, the way that he interacts sometimes, save for some of those interviews where you're like, what the fuck are you talking about? Usually it feels as though he's being more open, but then I don't know if that's just that consultant training that he got. Like, I don't know. They also studied psychology. So I don't know. Like, it seems though, is he really the guy who's going to bring about the change of the culture of the organization? Or is he the perfect cover-up man? Is he the perfect guy of misdirection? Typically, if you're in Washington and you last more than a few years, it's because you're a puppet.
Yeah.
If you're a guy that flames out, it usually means you were trying to do things the right way.
Which is why we like La Famina, right?
Which is why I love me some Brian La Famina, right? Like, even though he wasn't doing a great job behind the scenes, I even give Scott McCloughan credit. Like, fuck these guys, right? Like, and even looking back at the Shanahan years, as much as I thought Shanahan was just an asshole, he was getting shit done. And if they'd stopped fucking meddling, Lord knows what that team could have been, especially with all the coaching talent that was there. Yep. But that's the thing. There's been talent that has gone through Washington. And I think that's also in the front office. It's just, Have we been able to utilize it properly? And I can't say that I can look at Jason Wright and being like, you made X decision or this decision, and this is where the franchise is. I just got to look at what you've shown me. And every time that you've rolled out some big thing, there have been nothing but hiccups.
Yeah, I'd like him to. So for me, I had also sort of come up with the I don't know. And it's mostly because of the common denominator, that's been there since 1999. But I do think if he continues to be transparent, right, and continues to be personable as he is, I really like how personable he is.
Let me push back just a second.
Sure.
Is he being transparent? Is he telling us what we think we want to hear?
Well, so
like the name change,
that could be
right?
both.
Is
Go
it?
ahead.
But is it right? Like I look at Brian Lafayette and I'm saying, when you went outright and you told us everything that was happening with the season tickets,
yeah,
to the point where we knew it pissed Dan and Bruce off, which is why he got fired, right? Is he being brutally honest with this?
I'm referring more to the apology of the Sean Taylor.
So because that's such a low bar.
That's
man.
where we're at. That's where we're at. I'm not saying, hey, just know when to apologize. What I'm saying is when one is required, do it. That's going to be part of your job because people appreciate that. That's one. Right. Two, it is letting people in a little bit. One of the worst things about the Commander name rollout is the number of people that said, I don't even like it. Right. So yes, there was going to be backlash. I didn't think there was going to be to that extent, right? Especially because they talked about getting the fans involved, right? You mentioned Chase Young hating the name. It didn't seem like they got people involved. And so it would be nice to, now that the name change has occurred, right? Go, okay, this was our process. I think it's fair to ask, considering the, negative response that it's gotten. But
we got a bunch of social media videos about the process.
Right.
It was like, this is what I'm saying. It's like, it feels like misdirection. It feels like, hey, this is the new face of Washington.
Yeah, but the reason I want that transparency, even though you and I both agree we're never going to get it, is because with this organization, that's actually what's required, right? Because everything seems to be behind this curtain, and it's like, what the fuck is going on behind there? And it would just be nice to go, oh, okay, well, at least, we have one transparent part where he put in some effort. Like, this is what the team did. This is where it could have gone better, because I think there could be a feedback loop there, right? I mean, part of it is fan engagement. So this, I think, could be a useful situation to pick up from the fans. That's all I'm saying.
And that's the thing, is I don't know if they care. And I'm still waiting to hear that they do. Like, the apology about the Sean Taylor thing was just, things were so bad that day. There was no getting around it. There was zero positive feedback or anybody that could spin that in any way, shape, or form. Especially when it ended the day with Jackson Mahomes on that fucking 21.
I was just about to ask, whose fault
also
is
blame
that?
Jason Wright.
Okay.
Like, I blame those guys.
Yep, that's a fair point.
Why isn't anyone looking at the little things on that, right? So there was no way around it. He couldn't ignore it. Like, you couldn't. If he didn't say anything that day, what would we think?
Yeah, that's a good point.
So he gave us the bare minimum on it. So I'm just saying that, like, while I want to root for Jason, everything that he's done to roll out through the organization has had so many hiccups that you're just like, I think right now as a fan base, we're just waiting for them to fuck up the stadium thing.
Yeah.
We're not waiting to like,
I'm
not
as excited. No expectations.
Yeah. When I see LA, when I see SoFi Stadium, I'm like, God damn, that's amazing. Right. Or even Jerry World down in Dallas, I've never fucking really try to give that piece of shit credit. That was a fucking marvel. It's like a wonder of the world, right? Like, just that fucking screen. Like, it's just and then I go back to Brian Lafayette. One of the reasons that they fired him, and this is due to Chris Russell, is they said that the money wasn't where it needed to be because the attendance was low. They didn't like the money. So they were like, you know what? We brought you in here to make us more money. You didn't do that. Fuck off. I can't have profits being the number one thing for a fan base that needs to believe in the team again. There's a process with that. And it feels as though the primary objective with this organization is still dollars and cents, which is why they're not complaining off of all the fucking jersey sales on goddamn Fanatics after they did the rollout. Right.
So you're thinking that the main objective of this team is to make money, not win.
That has been, and I think that the winning is only because it could make them more money.
Interesting. Okay,
but I'm just talking about the higher ups. I'm just talking about the very, very higher ups. Jason Wright wants us to win because if we win, we don't give a shit about a lot of the other shit.
Oh yeah, no,
right?
Winning cures a lot.
Not us liking Dan, but beyond that, like
not everything.
Right, not everything, but like we want Ron Rivera to be successful. We want Scott Turner to be successful. We want Del Rio to be successful. We want those things to happen.
Can we? Okay, enough about Jason Wright. I want to transition to Ron Rivera because you mentioned him. We've talked about honesty a lot. I have found it very refreshing, right? And I think it's been fantastic, even for Taylor Heineke, for Martin Mayhew, Ron Rivera to come out and say, hey, we're looking to upgrade the position. I think that's terrific. We've got a whole national media tour where he is saying this at every single stop. And is beginning to praise specific QBs, including draft QBs, that is becoming a problem for me. The reason it's becoming a problem for me, KDot, is at pick 11, normally you're getting the third best QB or something like that. You could get the best one. You could get the one you want, right? At pick 11. And if you're letting everybody know that you think Malik Willis, reminds you of Cam Newton, well, what do you think might happen at pick 10? I'm starting to get nervous. KDot. I appreciate the honesty. I love that we're calling the fucking Kansas City Chiefs to see if they'll trade us Mahomes. I love it. Why not? Shoot your shot. But this is becoming a problem for me. What are your thoughts on this?
I fucking love it. So I think Marty Mayhew needs to shut up sometimes.
Yeah, seriously, man. All right.
but you even see, what was it, before yesterday, he apologized for what he was saying about Brandon Sheriff in the media.
Oh, I did not see that.
He said, I should not have talked about anything dealing with his contract situation or anything in the media. I shouldn't have used the media to get. I'm like, all right, cool. That's an apology I can get with, right? I think what this is doing is putting pressure. Ron Rivera and Martin Mayhew are basically saying, put the pressure on us. They have been so open about the fact that they wanted Matt Stafford last year. That is, and when we get into Martin Mayhew, that's going to be a big knock on him. We got you from Detroit, thinking you'd have some sort of pull with the quarterback you drafted, and you couldn't get him. So they're putting pressure on themselves. I think the fan base right now, if we don't get the moves done at quarterback, it will be a failure on Ron Rivera and Marty Mayhew, and they are taking full responsibility here. I kind of appreciate that you're putting it on themselves. If we don't get something good, how much do we know about this? We know that they've contacted all 32 teams. We know that they have 42 quarterbacks on a list. We know that they say they are willing to do anything it takes to get the guy that they need.
Yeah.
Which means at the start of next season, no excuses, gentlemen.
Yeah, I mean, when they talked about the price, is there any price too high to get the quarterback? He cited Matt Stafford and said, does anybody care about that? No. My thing is, I love it just from a fan perspective. I love hearing that, hey, we are going for it. I love that. If I'm other teams and I'm hearing what I'm hearing from Ron, from Martin, eventually from Marty, I'm sure, Marty Herney. Well, I'm driving a price up. Simple as that. And Washington's probably going to pay it. If we do, I guess I'm okay with it because we're going to get maybe that Russell Wilson or maybe that Deshaun Watson. Who knows? There's still time here. I know that, by the way, I know that John Schneider and Pete Carroll said they're not trading Russell. I don't know that it's actually up to them. I wouldn't read into that too much. They're saying the right things. Go ahead. What were you going to say, Carol?
I think there's another side to that. In the sense of they know, every organization knows there might be deals everywhere. Washington's waiting for the right one. Like the same way that you can spin it and say, I think it can be spun both ways. I understand your logic there. I don't think it goes far to say that the way you say it makes sense. But I'm saying that, like, on the other hand, I can also see him in the room trying to get Patrick Mahomes, and they're like, what the fuck are you talking about? And they're like, look, we want this guy. This is what we're willing to pay. But we got a lot of other quarterbacks we like that are more affordable than this guy that we think we'll be okay with. Do you not want this draft capital, the things that you want? Because we got other deals that we can make.
So we're using every quarterback on that list as leverage for the other one. That's what
I think saying. That's how, but trust, it's a desperate move. It is a desperate move.
Absolutely.
But I also know that, like, look, if it doesn't go right, guess who's in my sights? Marty Mayhew and fucking Ron Rivera. I like that there's no discrepancy here. We know who's to blame if it doesn't work out. There's no getting around it. So, I mean, whatever it works as far as this process, we won't know until it all ends up. As the same way I could say that if they're talking up Malik Willis, it's maybe to move from that 11th pick to get somebody, right?
Now, there I agree. That's right? Possible.
But yeah. I'm just saying that, like, there are a lot of different ways to skin a cat when it comes to the way that certain GMs talk about it. The same way, like, same way you can look at the NBA and what happened with the Ben Simmons thing and what Daryl Morey in fucking Philadelphia, and how everybody was kind of criticizing the way he was talking about this, talking about that. Like, everybody knows the value. They got James Harden to look like they're going to championship. It fucking worked. So I'm like, the GMs have a certain way of doing it. If I'm looking at Martin Mayhew and his track record, I don't know if I'm going to say that he's the most clever guy in the world.
That's what I'm saying. We'll have an episode on him too.
Right.
But go ahead.
But I like the fact on the fan base level, they are trying. They are actively trying, and they're letting you know, yo, no bullshit. This is what we're doing. Because I think that we need to know. The way I look at the Washington, especially in this quarterback position, is that we are basically in the exact same spot we were last year. Pretty much.
I think we're in a better spot.
Maybe, but I'm saying, like,
because
overall,
now we have information on Heineke. There would have been fans.
That's the only thing, right? So, like, that's
important, because otherwise this could have been the year where
this could have been the year where
like
100%. But I think right now what you're looking for is Washington wants a proven commodity. We want to know what we're getting, right?
Yes.
We don't want to take another chance this upcoming year. Ryan Fitzpatrick going down in week 1 was a terrible thing to happen to this team. As far as the product and what the final record was going to be, I still think. But we now know what we have in Taylor. Make him the overpaid backup. It's cool. Yeah. But I do like that they're being aggressive with it. I like that they're being super aggressive with it.
I'd like that they're being super aggressive with it too. I'm just saying that I think as this
they could shut up.
Yes, just a little bit.
Yeah,
just a little bit, because I think now it's starting to get to the point where I'm going, okay, cool. You've already won the fans over. We already know you're trying. Now what you're doing is you're driving prices up for yourself, and you're sort of showing your hand a little bit. Maybe they don't want Malik Willis. Maybe not. In fact, let's jump over to Combine talk, because that just happened. Malik Willis has a beautiful deep ball. So, I mean, if you guys haven't seen the clip, I'll put it in the description. The man throws a beautiful deep ball, and you can tell he has it all. There are some inconsistencies. I watched every throw. He missed a few. They all missed a few. But in terms of upside, that's the quarterback. Sky's the limit for this guy. So I wouldn't hate, for example, bringing in a bridge quarterback, letting Malik sit a little bit, because you and I both agree we would want our quarterback to sit. Mm-hmm. And let him develop. Let him develop in the system. Yes, because I don't think people realize just how raw
he is. Raw.
Yeah.
You go look at any of his game tape. The boy is raw. Shout out to Liberty University, the Bay Camp champion right here.
There you go.
The fucking crazy ass school. Can't believe they actually have a football program that's worth anything. That's fucking ridiculous to me. When I went to that building, it was nothing but like trailers put together and Jerry Falwell just walking around. Like, it's just a ridiculous place. Like, in Lynchburg, Virginia, we thought the KKK was going to get us.
We're recording this late, by the way, for those that didn't figure that out.
And I haven't got as high as I want to be. The Malik Willis is the shit. Like, he has all this raw talent that you're like, man, he can move. He's got good size. Mm-hmm. He's got a hell of an arm, but I am nowhere. He might be a 2-year project to me. And like, if you tell me, hey, we're going to go get Malik Willis and we're going to go get Teddy Bridgewater, I'm all right with that combo.
Sure.
Like, I could work with that.
What about Mitch Trubisky? How do you feel about that?
If it's Malik Willis.
Yeah. And it's Malik.
And it's Malik. I don't feel as comfortable with that. The only reason being that I am a Mitchell Trubisky fan. I am. I know. I'm a Mitchell Trubisky fan. Like, so when you remember the double doink?
Yep, of course.
The next season, I thought Chicago was going to be in the Super Bowl.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm putting myself out there. I I love their running. I love what they had in the team, like Montgomery and fucking and Khalil Mack are the defense playing like that. And then Trubisky and Nagy, and it just exploded into nothing. And he's been sitting behind Josh Allen last year, but he was also sitting and learning from Brian Daboll and everybody that got in that organization. So but the thing is, like, all right, Mitchell Trubisky without Malik Willis, fuck no.
Right.
Because I don't need but now, you know what? I don't know. I'm talking myself out of Mitchell Trubisky, period. Being that I don't need another year of not knowing what we have from the quarterback position.
Yeah.
I need somebody that I can at least count on to do something.
Because
I don't know if I can.
Right. And we'll jump back to the comment in just a moment. But yeah, Mitch, I think sitting out a year, was talking about it with some friends, like he has rehabbed his image considerably, right? Just sitting for a year. Because when he was out of Chicago, people were like, oh, I don't want him. And now, and now all of a sudden people are like, oh man, Mitch, like what really changed? I do think that sitting, reflecting on your time in Chicago, being around a different coaching staff, he's still a very talented guy, right? He's a victim of being in the same class as Patrick Mahomes and Deshaun Watson. That is brutal, right? Especially because he was taken above both of them and traded up for. Like there was a lot around his name that he couldn't control. That being said, when you compare him to this draft class, again, saw all the throws, there wasn't really anybody that stood out to me. Actually, there was one guy, Bailey Zappi from Western Kentucky, surprisingly enough, I actually liked. And he's got a 3rd or 4th round grade on him. But I actually liked him a lot. But other than him, and like Malik just showing the upside, right? It wasn't a very good class. So I'm beginning to understand the talk behind Mitch Trubisky. Right? Now I get it. Go ahead.
I'm talking myself out of the Mitch Trubisky thing as far as like a primary option. I don't like the idea of having Mitch and Malik Willis, 2 unproven guys who really can't learn.
Yeah, but one's a rookie that you have chosen to be your franchise.
I get it, but
right?
I don't trust Mitchell to teach him anything. Like I don't.
It's not his job to teach him anything. I think it would be on Ron and Scott. Right?
I think to me a quarterback room there's a certain element of guys helping each other out, at least in the best quarterback rooms.
Mm-hmm. Then bring Fitz back one more time.
I don't know what the fuck Fitz is doing. Last time I saw Fitz, he was shirtless
at Buffalo.
So I don't know what's happening to Fitz.
That was our guy.
I'd love Fitz to come back, but also that age coming off of that injury.
He spent more quarters in Buffalo this season than he did.
No shit. So like, I'm like, I don't. Wow, that's fucked up, but it's true. I don't know. I want a proven commodity at quarterback, and I don't care if it's even average. Like I literally don't care. Like it's. Teddy Bridgewater is the name that keeps coming to me as like the guy that I think makes sense. To me, a great combo would be him and Willis. You have Teddy Bridgewater that can at least play the quarterback position and make throws that Taylor can't, but he's also not going to give you, he's never going to show you that you will never mistake him for Patrick Mahomes any given day, right? Like he's just not built.
Fair enough.
But he can make the throws, and you make the throws. And you play good defense. He's not going to fuck it up for you, and that to me it means something. If you have Malik Willis, and then in a year from now, if we're sitting at like a 10-7 a team, and we're like, "Yo, it's Malik time, baby," and you pull a Kansas City Chiefs, oust them like they did Alex Smith, and here's our new guy that's anointed into the spot. I like it, but then. Look, I'd also, for a guy that's that's better, that maybe just a modicum better than Teddy Bridgewater, buy 11th pick. Like, I'd rather do that, right? So, like, if Deshaun Watson's on the table, buy Malik Willis, who the fuck care? Like,
right.
I don't care about anybody.
We both are on the same page here. Screw this class if you can get one of those elite guys, obviously.
Right. But then I even look at, like, do I want a Teddy Bridgewater and another stud at a different position at 11? I can make it. There are other positions in need on the team.
And this is a loaded class outside of quarterback, right? It's actually a terrible year to need a quarterback based on what draft experts are saying.
If I'm GM right now, Washington, I just saw the New York wants a 4th round pick for Saquon. Come on, Saquon.
They will never trade him here. But it's a good
just
point.
saying.
It is a really good point because I just
Matthew, fucking Bobby Wagner.
But on the point of Saquon, because I don't think enough people realize this, in terms of run blocking, we were better than Indianapolis. And Jonathan Taylor had an MVP-esque season. If you gave Saquon, it was always the thing in New York is he didn't have blocking. We have blocking. I don't think that the New York Giants would ever trade him to us. I think with the connections they have, it would be Buffalo. It's in the AFC.
That's terrifying.
Right? They're a piece away, in my opinion. Right?
It's fucking terrifying.
Joe Schoen and Brian Daboll came from Buffalo. It makes all the sense in the world.
It does. It makes.
I think that's.
Sense.
I think that's what's going to ultimately happen.
I don't want that to happen.
But I see what you're saying.
The other podcast I do, Ryan's a Washington fan that converted to Buffalo. I don't want that to happen. But also, I think Saquon was suffering from the same thing that Patrick Mahomes was suffering from earlier. I watch a lot of Saquon tape because he's one of my favorite players in the league.
He's incredible.
He's always looking for the home run, and he doesn't take the 4 yards that is given at any given point in time, which is if you look at him in the pocket, going through holes, he's always looking for the home run, and he never takes the 3 yards, the 4 yards, the 5 yards the defense is just giving him.
I don't know that it was actually given that often.
I do think it was. I really do. At least the times that I was watching, especially early on in the season. Okay. There were times where I'm like, dude, just fall.
Run through it.
Fucking fall. Just fall that way. But he wouldn't do it. He's fucking gotta bounce it this way. And it's just, that's not with an offensive line that's not good. Take the hole. Just take the fucking hole. They're not going to create the second lane for you. So I just think there's a combination there. Sometimes I think that if you have bad offensive line play and you're not getting the chunks that you think you need, you want to hit the home run. Where it's like, no, if you get 3 or 4 yards at a time, it builds on that, and you got to do that sometimes. So I just want to just on that out there.
And it's also on the note of just bringing it back to, hey, we still have other positions to fill here, and
there's every position on our team. I'm cool with putting more talent.
Sure.
Except defensive line.
So do you feel we're a quarterback away or no?
No, I think that
depends on the quarterback.
I don't want to say this. I think that we're like any team has holes.
Yeah.
I can look at any team and say, oh, they need to upgrade there.
Well, Buffalo might not, honestly, especially if they got Saquon.
I could see some improvements in linebacker for them, but whatever.
Okay. Sure.
But that's me reaching, right?
Yeah.
Or a second wide receiver. I think that they need more than I think
Diggs and Gabe Davis.
Gabe Davis,
the guy who went for 200 yards and 4 touchdowns.
I think Gabe Davis is fine. I think that Gabe Davis is also getting a lot of Stephon Diggs is on the other side of the field syndrome, which happens. I think
tends to be pretty good at taking advantage of that.
Look, all right, fine.
This is a DC Sports podcast.
I relent the point. You're right. I'm just being argumentative.
I was like, don't be Jason Wright. Don't double down on this right now. This isn't it.
Not going to. You got it. You won. I'm lost. I lost. I'm wrong. Gabe Davis is fine.
Score 1.
You're good. Fine. Buffalo's the only team that doesn't need anything. No, I can look at every position. I'm like, and there's a lot of free agents. There's a lot of guys that look like they might be up on the trade block this song. Like there's a lot of potential things that happen for this organization. I think that if you have a quarterback that can just make the throws, I don't know what this team looks like because I honestly haven't seen it. When's the last time I've seen a quarterback that can make a throw?
Yeah.
Literally.
It's fair. It's fair. Like, we haven't had one in ages, man. I guess Kirk, but like December.
That's right. That's Kirk. How many years ago is that?
5, 6, something like that now.
And I'm not talking about I'm not talking about good. I'm saying literally throw the football. Taylor Heineke can't throw. Alex Smith couldn't throw.
Once he was here, right?
The short blip that I got was Kyle Allen, and he couldn't stay healthy for more than 2 games. So it's like,
right.
I literally haven't even seen somebody with average quarterbacking skills plug in with this offense. I don't even know what that looks like.
So then I will say, quarterbacks that I saw exhibit a strong arm in the combine just now. So, of course, Malik Willis, we just mentioned that. Carson's strong. Okay, so he can't, from Nevada, he can't really run around because in college they have when you are sacked, that counts against your rushing yards as an individual. He finished his career with like negative 300 rushing yards. So like he doesn't scramble and he gets sacked a bunch in Nevada anyway. He has got an arm. Bailey Zappi, who again I really like from Western Kentucky. I think he led the nation in yards.
I can't get behind that name.
And stuff like that. It's a weird one. It's a weird one. But listen, so long as you're getting to see the guy throw, you'll be happy.
I want to see the last name on the back of his jersey. Just got to see it.
It
actually kind of looks cool with the 4.
That's what I'm saying.
Dig it. I actually kind of dig it now.
Okay, so
let's give it that Romo vibe, right? Just that weird last name.
So how about best player available? And then you go ahead and by the way, love the Romo shout there. Best player available at 11. Zappy second or third if you wanted to reach. It's possible. I mean, and you take a bridge quarterback, maybe then Mitch is more okay. I mean, in your mind, it's going to be an interesting offseason. And now we're in March and things are going to start moving very quickly. I know it's felt slow and stuff like that, but things are going to start moving very quickly because free agency begins in like 2 weeks. Right.
And
so
just for the record, I'm off the Mitch Trubisky train.
I'm not on it either. Just to be clear, it's just the name that's coming out a lot.
I would have been down last year. I'm not down this year.
Interesting. You would have been down last year.
I would have been more down for it last year than I am this year.
Okay. By the way, the reason I haven't really mentioned Kenny Pickett or
he's got tiny hands.
Yeah. Oh my God.
Stupid.
Oh my God. We were talking before we started recording. They could not stop talking about 8.5 inches over there.
I hate the combine.
Yeah. You know what? Fuck it. Just, what's your combine take? Go ahead.
It's not. Look, I know. Look, here's the thing. I'm a diehard Washington Commanders fan. All right.
I'm not knocking you for this, by the way. I kind of find it funny and somewhat agree.
I know our fan base. So our fan base is still hoping that we're still the Redskins. So come on. All right. So anything that I could consider to be woke might be something that some of these guys are not necessarily for. So just throwing it out there to begin with. The combine always felt problematic to me. I know it's not technically these guys are about to go off and make millions of dollars. This is all part of the process, but I don't like the idea of like guys measuring people and just, it doesn't feel right. If you've ever seen Django Unchained, I think you know what I'm talking about. I just don't love it. I don't love it. Not to mention, I just find the majority of times of whatever the fuck is happening in the combine, we don't learn anything. I think anything you might potentially get from the combine, you'd learn so much more if you just did game tape. Like I learned so much more just watching game film. When I see the list of mock drafts, I then start doing my homework and I think I learn a lot more. And not to mention, I'm a huge believer in intangibles, but you know, for all of you analytical people out there, you're not a huge fan of that. But I think especially in the quarterback position, I want calm and I want cool. That's what I look for. I look for calm, cool, and winning, and a winning mentality. Those are like those 3 things or stuff that I look for with that.
So if I could, the reason I decided, so normally I don't watch the combine and I actually regret it because one of the first episodes of District Divided I ever did was last year, or I guess 2 years ago now. Wow, 2 years. Where I had said that this would have been in March. We should not take Chase Young. We should take Tua. And so because Burrow was going to go 1. In retrospect, very glad we took Chase Young over Tua. However, if I had watched the combine, Justin Herbert had a perfect combine. And I may have pivoted to saying we should look at taking Justin Herbert. Go ahead.
I knew Herbert was good. Like the only thing that
why don't you jump on and tell people?
Because I still want to Chase Young. I thought we would have ruined him. I don't think Justin Herbert's the same quarterback in Washington he is out there. I don't. So like there's still a part of me that's always afraid.
What if you could swap him right now?
For Chase?
Yeah.
Like right now?
Right now.
Yeah, I do that. But it's like, but the thing with Herbert to me was that like the thing was is that everybody knew. You could watch all the game film. He makes the throws. The big thing for him was that does he care about football? And it, like, to me, there's a difference between not caring about football, being Jamarcus Russell, that level of not caring about football, compared to, hey, I'm not really high or low. My emotion level is here.
Yeah. And
that to me is, I like emotional level.
All right. Can I get back to my point? My point, my point was that if I had seen the combine, a couple of years ago, that I honestly do think I would have been like, hey, Justin Herbert's really fucking good. And he's worth considering it too as well. This year, one of the quickest things for me to do watching these quarterbacks is, can they throw the out? Right? Because one of the things Taylor Heineke couldn't really do was throw the out. And so looking at these prospects, you could immediately eliminate about 10 of them. And you're like, okay, cool. And then if they can throw the out, they do throw a nice deep ball, throw a decent slant. Well, okay, now I know whose highlights I'm watching, right? And when you talk about calm and cool, well, there's a lot of pressure at the combine, right? People are putting everything under a microscope. Everything's being analyzed so deeply, you can feel that pressure. And if you're able to perform under that, well, then, yeah, I think you probably have a calm and cool trait about you as well. And so I'm still going to go ahead and watch the highlights. I doubt you'd have to get pretty lucky, I think, to have a really good day with those many teams watching and your peers watching. I don't know. I think it would take a lot more. So I think calm, cool makes sense if you have a good day at the combine.
All I know is this. Way back when I was back in high school as a young lad in the District of Columbia.
Young KDot.
I used to have my fucking notebooks, and I would watch the combines, and I'd make my predictions based on what I saw there. And there's one man in particular that pretty much broke everything I cared about when it came to combine. It happened back in 2005. There was a young cat out of Arkansas named Matt Jones.
Oh no.
Now, I thought Matt Jones was about to be the best goddamn prospect in the history of football, right? He wasn't. He was not. Now, a lot of off-field shit when it came to him. I still think he was a freak athlete, but yeah, fuck them combines, yo. Like, I'm just Tom Brady.
A quarterback turned wide receiver to be the best prospect you'd ever like seen in your life,
and he ran a 4.4.
Which, isn't it crazy that that's now like a standard thing in 2022? Like,
we saw the record get broken today. Like, who
every
cares?
other person is 6'6" and runs a 4.4 now. You're like,
but it's the same thing. Like, I still think that even I understand what you're saying as far as like the pressure, right? Yeah. There's a pressure of a combine. The pressure of a combine compared to what you're doing in game, to me, just don't translate. You can have pressure taking a fucking test. Most of these guys are fucking terrible test takers. Like, I don't. There's why do you think they try to keep the one lick scores fucking under wraps now? Like, there's pressure, but it doesn't necessarily. Larry Fitzgerald still might be one of the fastest human beings I've ever seen in my entire life on a football field. When he got the ball in his goddamn hands, we asked him on a 40 time. Oh, okay. But this, like,
I don't pay attention to 40 times, just to be clear.
I know, but and I understand what you're saying as far as making the throws, right? Like, you can see you can see certain guys are like, all right, you can make certain throws. You need to work on that, which is where you see Malik Willis. But I go as far as saying I don't learn anything from the combine because those same flaws are clearly visible in the game tape. When you watch Malik Willis's game tape, what can you see? The boy's got a fucking arm, but guess what? He might be one of the rawest goddamn quarterback prospects I have ever seen. There are times where he's sitting there and I'm like, am I watching Pee Wee football? Like, he literally just doesn't look like a quarterback back there. And it's like, all right, we need to make sure that we got good coaches and everything to get you through this. So it's not like I learned anything like the aha moment. Like, I get that and the other part of it is that you can see certain athletes in the history of the league have used the combine to up where they're going to be in the draft. Certainly. But it's not necessarily anything that they're going to do on the field, because there are certain things you can do to prep yourself to do amazing in the combine, but does not necessarily translate to what you can do on the field, which is why you have so many late round picks to get that.
Yeah. And I watched it mainly just for the quarterbacks. I came away just blown away by the wide receiver class this year. They look incredible.
They look great, but the thing is, they look great all around. Like, if you care about 40 times, they look amazing there. If you care about round, they look amazing.
I'm talking
there.
about their ability to adjust to some of these throws I saw today.
But what do we know? But here's the thing: what did we know before today? Deepest goddamn wide receiver class ever. I'm just saying
it was proven.
Right?
Like, eye test was like, holy cow, they were right. Like,
that's where I go. I just don't think it. I think that the stock on the combine, it's fine that we have it. I think it could be good for some of these guys to raise their stock.
It's another piece of the puzzle. That's
I'm
all
about
it is.
getting paid, right? I'm all about getting these guys to get the opportunities to get paid, especially after you spent time in college being taken advantage of. Go ahead, get your money, homie.
Yeah.
But in the grand scheme of what it actually means towards putting together a successful football team, it don't mean a goddamn thing.
Okay. Hey, I respect and appreciate your opinion there, KDot. I think it's part of the puzzle. I don't know what percentage of the puzzle it is. Could be 1%, could be 20%. I think it's closer to 1 than 20 even. But it is certain bits of information you're getting from it. But hey,
Mayhew spent most of the time just talking to agents in Indianapolis, not watching the goddamn combine.
Yeah, we're trying to re-sign the following guys. Also, we're going to trade 8 first-round picks for anybody. Please stop talking. We already know you guys are trying. Now stay quiet and get something done. We could talk forever. I've just figured that out. We are now into Friday morning. You're going to be seeing this Friday afternoon. So
I'm not going to sleep. I got to watch some Ukraine shit.
Well, now I got to edit this. So this is District Divided.
Oh, fuck yeah. Sorry about that, buddy.
DC Sports Podcast. No worries. I am Amit. That is KDot. Thank you guys so much for joining us today. We had a blast. Hope you did too. Next week, we're going to be talking about the general manager. We're going to be talking about Martin Mayhew. And so we're going to talk about his background a little bit, his time with the Lions, for example, his relationship with Ron Rivera. We're going to get into it all. So until next week, enjoy yourselves and look out for a quarterback. Maybe we have one by next week. Take it easy.
Brian LaFamina for life.
For life.